Hi, my name's Rob, and I'm an interpreter from Santa Clara County Parks, which means it's my job to share stories about our natural resources, our history, our culture, things like that. And today I'm really excited because I received a wonderful gift, this nature journal, from our friends over at the Los Gatos City Library. Uh, Around the parks, since I've been hired, I've been known as the nature journal guy. I've run a few programs about nature journaling for the public, and I'm really excited to take a look at everything we have here in the nature journal, our nature stories. And I can't tell you how much I already love this illustration that's on the very front of everything. Oh no, I just took off a little piece of a leaf. But we've got this page and this entry about the color red, and I just find it really fascinating just with the geraniums in there, the little illustrations of a strawberry, some rose petals here. Looks like people have been doing a lot of exploration. We've got a lot of leaves shared. We've got some entries about how it's really easy to forget bottles, how they might do a lot of damage to the environment, to plants. I know the big focus lately has been about things like watersheds and how plastics can dissolve into microplastics that then affect the food chain. This page is really interesting to me, just because I can see how they included a lot of different leaves, like some oak leaves. They included some lichen here. They have this illustration of what looks like a bee. Let's see. Ooh, they made a really interesting observation about some redwood bark, saying that it's still firm. I love the observational skills shown here. That's really what I'm all about when I do a lot of my nature journaling, especially as I go on and follow the prompt that I'm given. When I get this prompt, one of the things that's going to be difficult for me is I'll be in a public space, a county park, and because of that, I shouldn't be taking things from the environment around me. We want to leave those things there to decompose and kind of become a part of the environment or a resource for wildlife again. So I'll be mostly focusing on illustration and science illustration, things like that. Even if your illustration isn't perfect, a lot of it has to do with also writing and making observations, labeling things, just so people can understand what you're looking at and maybe what's around you as you look at those things too. So let's take a second here. Huge leaf. I love it. It looks like a madrone leaf to me, but I'm not 100% sure about that because, of course, I didn't find the leaf. Let's see if we can find my prompt in here anywhere. Oh, here we go. Hello. I had such an enjoyable time walking around the town of Los Gatos, taking in the small moments, nature and me engaged. From the warmth of the sun to the tall trees, I found nature all around me. As you receive this journal, I challenge you to observe at least one living thing in the Los Gatos Creek. All right. So that's my challenge. Head over to Los Gatos Creek and do some exploration. And I'm hoping that you all can join me on that. So let's go. I wanted to take a minute to recognize and think about the Muwekma Ohlone, people who have lived on this land since long before the arrival of Spanish, Europeans, and Americans to California. This was an important moment of reflection, some time to think about the people who used this land and who came before me. Hey friends, I've made it to Los Gatos Creek. And I apologize if you hear some background noise. We are next to the highway. But here at the creek, I've been given the challenge to try and find one living thing to observe. Now, the nice thing about this creek is if you look around, we've got all this plant life to observe. But I want to give myself an extra challenge, which is to search for a macroinvertebrate in the water. If you're unaware, a macroinvertebrate, it's like a creature without a backbone that you don't need a microscope to see. So it includes things like bugs, crabs, shrimp, and in this case, maybe some freshwater clams that might be down here at the creek. So I want to share a few of my tools with everybody before I get started here. One of my tools, just a nice clear a salad container that I got from the grocery store. Some of the other things I have, glass yogurt container, makes it real easy to just scoop up any invertebrates and a bit of the mud. So we want to get down in the mud to find some of those creatures that might live here in the creek. And then also just an old dip container as well. This one, it's a bit bigger, which might make things a little easier for me. Although it's harder to see through the sides because it's got all the letters and nutritional information there. But I still figured it'd come in handy. So right off the bat, as I was exploring, I found a little clam shell. One of the things here, though, was that there was not a living clam inside, but it had some really pretty colors. So I kept that and set it aside for later. Next, I took that salad container I showed you and I filled it up with some of the fresh water from the creek. That way I could safely transfer any creatures I found over to that salad container and observe them before I returned them back into the creek. Now I'm finally prepared to start my search properly. So I took that dip container and I started filling it up with mud and rocks, looking for things that might be buried there in the creek mud. The water's a little low, so I didn't find anything right off the bat, but it might take a bit more effort. I spent a lot of time looking around. In creeks, there's places to check, like under rocks, in the mud, scooping things up, picking up sticks, all kinds of places that I needed to look. Finally, something caught my eye, and there it was, a freshwater clam. In the beginning, I was a little nervous I might not find anything, especially a freshwater clam. Part of the reason for this is that clams can be very sensitive to water pollution, so they might be hard to find in certain creeks. Now it was time to start journaling. I added a note at the very top of my journal page so the next person who got it could see the extra challenge I gave myself. Because I couldn't tape anything into the journal, I got my pens and pencils ready. Usually when I do my nature journaling, I often do it in black and white pen, but this time around with those colored pencils, I could add a lot more life to the images I was creating. In addition, I decided to even include a little entry on that lifeless clamshell that I found just because the colors inside were so pretty. My journal page has a lot of words, and I wanted to make sure I was recording a lot of detail about what I was seeing. I hope my journal entry looks enough like what I was seeing so that people can recognize what it is. I took a few moments to relax by the creek before I left, just taking in the sounds that I could hear and the sights that I could see. On the way back, I found an acorn, and I decided to journal about that too. Alright friends, so here is my final product. And it's at a bit of an angle, but I want to keep the camera stable for you all here, so we'll kind of go through it. Laying back and looking at the sycamore trees, I couldn't help but just try to record the shapes of a few of those leaves. As you see, I saw so many colors out there. Funnily enough, the only living thing I saw besides those freshwater clams were some water striders that you can see here. And I just did a very simple illustration of those, hardly any labels, but I wrote a bit about what I saw. Besides the freshwater clam, the other living creatures I saw were water striders skating around the surface of the creek. That seems normal this time of year. I know clams are not very tolerant of pollution, so I do not think water pollution is inhibiting creatures from living in it. And it, of course, referring to the creek I was just exploring. Here's that acorn that I saw on my way out. And on my way out, I made a note about it that I saw a ton of acorns. So I'm wondering if we might see some new acorn growth. Of course, let me move things here. We've got the clamshell, lots of dark blotches that I was really curious about. I wondered if the colors we were seeing had something to do with the water flowing over the shell. Besides this one that I also saw another clamshell that was really pale on the outside, and I wonder if that's just the water wearing away at things, or if it has something to do with the life existing within that clamshell, why this one is so colorful and that other one that I found, that external shell, was not. Some of the other things I saw here, a lot of little brown birds. I couldn't quite tell what they were because they were moving so fast, so I just wanted to make a little note and drawing of that. And then I left a note for my friends that my trip to Los Gatos Creek was on October 30th, and it was a beautiful day. I was grateful for the chance to go out, hike, and journal. So that is my entire journal page there. And hopefully next time, the next people to receive it will have something interesting. I'm going to keep it a surprise for you all what their prompt is going to be. Thanks for listening in. I hope you enjoyed seeing Los Gatos Creek and everything there was to journal about there.